Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Before we get started, don't forget to click that subscribe button and give this episode a thumbs up. It actually supports the channel and keeps you in the know for all the latest info. Now let's dive in, because part 4 of the Sister Wives Tell All was bringing chaos, clarity and confrontation in a whole new way. Just when it looked as though the drama was reaching its climax, the last tell-all episode of season 19 erupted with emotional revelations and buried resentments. It became excruciatingly clear that the Brown family can no longer keep pretending that everything is okay. The cracks are fully open and the truth is spilling out. Christine Brown is officially over it. Janelle Brown has discovered her voice and strength. Mary Brown, after all these years of clinging, has finally left the emotional devastation behind. That well-maintained facade of togetherness is no more, and only the unfiltered and real remains. Christine's new beau, David Woolley, slipped in quietly but forcefully. When Cody attempted to pin the failures of his marriages on polygamy, David quietly explained what viewers suspected all along. Cody benefited from the turmoil between his wives because it diverted focus from his own behavior. David did not yell or rage, he just spoke truth, and it hurt. David explained that he was reluctant to date Christine initially, considering her history, but over time he recognized the toughness and worth in her that had been underrated for so long. He was not here to redefine the past, he was here to create something new. And in contrast to Cody, David would not place blame on a way of life, but rather own up to personal failure. And then, the jaw-dropping twist, Janelle Brown confessed that if she had time to do it all over, she wouldn't have wed Cody. Her tone was not angry, simply matter-of-fact. She said that had she really looked at him for what he was from the beginning, the relationship may never have existed. It was a confession that left viewers stunned. Janelle didn't tear Cody down. She didn't attempt to rewrite the past. She understood that her decisions were made out of faith, love, and belief in a man who no longer was. Her transformation wasn't about regret, it was about release. When questioned regarding Cody's long courtship of Robin, Janelle responded strongly. "A married man shouldn't be courting another woman for almost a year," she said. That one statement said more about the relationship's dysfunction than an entire conversation could. And yet, Cody continued deflecting blame. In his typical fashion, he accused his ex-wives of becoming cruel after the breakups. He claimed he was just defending himself, acting like their emotional distance came out of nowhere. But longtime viewers know the truth. Christine didn't become mean, she became honest. Janelle didn't attack, she protected herself. Mary didn't lash out, she endured in silence for years. Cody's concept of cruelty appears to be women that cease to orbit around him. His unease isn't with their attitudes, but with their independence. These women hadn't switched overnight, they finally ceased waiting for him to. Mary Brown's journey in particular has been one of quiet suffering. From being the first wife to becoming the emotional scapegoat of the family, she stayed through season after season of heartache. Her final decision to walk away was long overdue. This tell-all wasn't another soap opera moment, it was the turning point. It revealed the end of the illusion and the start of something more authentic. For the followers who've hung in there through every twist and turn, this wasn't just soap opera, it was truth, long overdue. And if this episode did anything to show us, it's that the truth always surfaces, and sometimes it burns it all to the ground along the way. As Cody again spun his take on the tale from the reunion couch, this time there was a different vibe. Mary Brown came to the most recent Sister Wives Tell All with a newfound strength, and really, we had all been waiting for this moment. Fans rejoiced as Mary finally answered back, mentioned the long lack of intimacy in her marriage to Cody, and disavowed being asexual. Let's analyze some of Mary's strongest moments throughout the tell-all, and why this could be the Mary that fans have always wanted to see. Throughout the reunion, Mary and Janelle both made it explicit. Mary is not asexual. One of the highlights was when Mary addressed a long-standing rumor that followed her around for years. She teased that it had been a while that anything went on in her relationship, but not because she was not interested. It was because there was nothing left in the way of intimacy. The state of her marriage had been publicly painful, and many assumed she had no interest in a physical relationship. But Mary finally clarified. She told of a humorous encounter in which a friend joked about paying for her to be protected, and she laughed, saying nothing was going on, nothing had to. The laughter was playful, but the point was real. Mary and Janelle both dismissed the notion that they were closed off emotionally or prudes. Janelle went further, insisting that just because she didn't want assembly line kisses from Cody did not mean she wasn't interested. These were two women taking back their narratives after being mischaracterized in front of the camera for more than a decade. For Mary, in particular, the moment was crucial. For years, who she was had been defined by what Cody did not provide for her: love, affection, respect. Now she is reclaiming that identity. She is defining it for herself. Mary also revealed more deeply the total lack of physical intimacy in her marriage to Cody. She wasn't dismissing a label, she was sharing a hurtful truth. Even though Cody had checked out emotionally, Mary still hoped for closeness, even for romance. Run Chastney or Cody Ondos. But Cody no longer was, and hadn't been in a long time. Audiences have seen Mary wait, endure, and quietly hope that something will become different, long after Cody openly declared he no longer felt married to her. That sort of emotional limbo is cruel, but listening to Mary recount so honestly about what she went through put everything into perspective. She wasn't cold, she wasn't aloof. She was heartbroken and trapped in a one-sided marriage. What was most striking about this tell-all was the way Mary spoke, not what she said. She was so calm, so clear, so unapologetic. No more tiptoeing around Cody anymore, no more waiting for the other wives to come to her defense. Mary finally spoke up for herself. She confessed that she clung to a family that was gone, that she lingered too long expecting a return of something that never came back. Above all, she proclaimed that she was finished waiting for Cody to give her permission to be valuable. Mary, having just established her brand as worthy, now views worth as a place of strength rather than repair. She'd spent years living the role of the emotionally unavailable legal wife, the first wife who'd helped create the Brown family, only to be erased within it. But she's taking back her position in the narrative, and she's plotting a new chapter that doesn't include Cody. The last segment of this tell-all was not only emotional, it was also transformational. It was rife with raw confessions, moving admissions and realities fans long suspected but could never hear spoken out loud. It confirmed what many people already knew in their gut: the era of illusions was over. What once seemed a spiritually tied, one strong family has fallen apart from within. Smiles, faith, and shared way of life kept it intact for decades. But ultimately, it wasn't sufficient. The reunion not only revisited broken vows, it was an accounting in full. 3 women finally told their truths, whether or not anyone was listening, and one man was left to grapple with what occurs when control has slipped away and silence is no longer the standard. Indeed, here follows the fully reworded plain script version of your latest section, set out in properly structured paragraphs with smooth shifts to maintain viewers' interest throughout the entire video. There, at the eye of the hurricane, was one man, Cody Brown, compelled at long last to face the wreckage of his own past. Here, yet, whereas his story attempted to deflect responsibility outward, Christine's new beginning was happening with clarity and elegance. Christine's evolution from stoic endurance to assertive self-statement has inspired many a fan. But it was her partner, David Woolley, who provided one of the most quietly memorable moments of the tell-all. A man generally off stage, David decided this time to speak, and when he did, he spoke with unflinching candor. Cody tried to put the blame for the breakdown of his family on the system of plural marriage. In his opinion, the polygamy structure was inherently imperfect, and that's why the whole thing collapsed. David wasn't so sure, however. He counteracted that view with dignity, bringing a different interpretation based not only on observation but experience. He posited that the system did not fail, the leadership failed. The issue wasn't the practice of plural marriage, it was the way it was used and manipulated. David suggested that the women were too caught up being set against one another to see the one person who was expected to be guiding with integrity and honesty. It wasn't the lifestyle, it was the man in it. David acknowledged that initially he was afraid to invest in a relationship with someone who bore the kind of emotional baggage Christine did. But over time, he broke through the pain and saw the strong, vibrant woman that lay beneath. He called her a hidden gem amidst the mayhem, a woman who wasn't broken but mending. He stressed that honesty, rather than blame, was the key to healing. Then there was one of the most subtly devastating moments of the reunion, Janelle's candid take on her history. When she was asked if she would do everything all over again, her response was direct but heavy, with decades of wisdom. Without rancor, she acknowledged that if she had knowledge then that she has now, she probably would not have married Cody. It wasn't hateful, it wasn't a sting, it was a recognition that sometimes loyalty gets misplaced. Janelle described how her decisions were once based on faith, oneness, and believing in something greater than herself. But after decades of giving up her emotional health to keep a dysfunctional family together, she came to realize her devotion hadn't been returned. She wasn't assaulting her past, she was just acknowledging the emotional price she had paid in maintaining a fantasy that not all members of the family had ever shared. Janelle also touched on an old but still hurting issue, Cody's protracted courtship with Robin. With no dramatics, she noted how off-base it was for a man who was married to participate in such a lengthy love affair. That courtship marked a turning point, away from togetherness and towards separation. What had been a union had begun to crack. And yet, while Christine, Janelle and Mary opened up with refreshing honesty, the man at the center still resisted accountability. Cody continued to frame himself as the victim, claiming his ex-wives only turned mean after leaving him. According to him, their resentment wasn't there before, it emerged post-breakup. But longtime viewers of the show understand better. What Cody referred to as bitterness was really the outcome of years of unexpressed pain finally being heard. These women didn't transform, they ceased to shrink themselves to cover his ego. One woman finally quit tolerating emotional neglect and began asserting strong boundaries. One more accepted that she couldn't compel love from someone who'd long since quit caring, and the third started telling her truth, not to bring others down, but to reclaim her own voice. Through the reunion, Cody held on to a script that was familiar to him, one that characterized him as the beleaguered mastermind of a failed family experiment. But on this occasion, the women in his life did not allow him to get away with it. They did not hurl epithets. They did not scream. Instead, they told their truths with clarity, experience, and unyielding strength. They outlined how the plural marriage dynamic went down. When everyone received equal treatment, it could work. But when favoritism became entrenched, all of that changed. Emotional equilibrium surrendered to emotional shortage. And rather than working on the imbalance, Cody erected barriers, withdrew even more. Gradually, little betrayal by little betrayal, the foundation. This tell-all wasn't capped with sensational departures or coerced makeups. What made it different was the emotional candor. This was about individual epiphanies, not public skirmishes. For the first time, the women stood not as co-stars in someone else's life, but as authors of their own stories. They had once been held together by spiritual values and the common goal of making a dysfunctional family work. Now, however, they were finally free and stronger because of it. Their histories didn't tell of merely the collapse of a relationship system, but of the strength it took to leave behind something that no longer benefited them. David Woolley, Christine's new love, became a quiet beacon of justice, not of outrage, but of truth. He gently reminded what so many in the audience had long known. The lifestyle wasn't an issue, it was the man at the center of it, the man who had no intention of being accountable. And the family silently disintegrated. No one is quite sure what is next for this family. But one thing is certain. The age of pretending is behind us. The masks are gone. The day of smiling their way through dysfunction is over. What remains now is a path forward, one built on honesty, self-worth, and the refusal to stay silent. Perhaps the most profound arc of this story belongs to Mary, the first wife. For years, she was the cornerstone of the family, then slowly, painfully pushed aside. She endured in silence, rarely interrupting, rarely challenging. In reunion after reunion, she sat quietly as others reshaped the story. But not this time. This time Mary returned with fire in her tone and conviction in her message. The hesitant woman who allowed whispers to define her was nowhere to be found. In her place was someone who was very much in command of her narrative, willing to set the record straight. She confronted years of rumor square on, particularly the one that she was not having sex or was uninterested in it. With stinging wit and poignant candor, she described a friend proposing to purchase her protection as if she was setting out on a lover's tryst. Mary laughed. "Nothing is happening," she said. "Nothing needs to." Her point was plain. She wasn't interested in love. She had just been in a loveless one. And she wasn't the only one. Janelle also spoke the same truth. She wasn't cold or unfeeling. She just refused to engage in a disconnected, performative dynamic. Neither woman was prudish. Neither woman was frigid. They had merely been misrepresented, time and time again, by the narrative Cody wished to create. At its very root, this final reunion wasn't about vengeance. It was about freedom. About the women who had sacrificed everything to a dream of love and family, now choosing to give some of that love back to themselves. Where there was once rage, now there was reflection. Where there was once silence, now there was strength. And where there was once victimhood, now there was something much more powerful: ownership of the truth.